And in a few moments' time, we are going to take a look back at WESH 2 News coverage from this day 15 years ago as Central Florida remembers the Groundhog Day tornado outbreak, a tornado outbreak that will serve in memory for years and years to come. Before we watch the footage, just a look back. 21 people lost their lives, 3 tornadoes touched down, and 371 homes completely destroyed. At this moment, let's take a look back. This is WESH 2 News coverage from that weekend, sunrise. And what you're going to notice is a whole lot of Central Floridians trying to pick up the pieces, both as victims of the storm or as the helpers. Let's take a look.
WESH 2 News with your Weather Plus forecast starts now.
Just average, everyday people. And it hurts. It just hurts.
No, I watched the roof blow away. I watched it blow away. See you later.
48 hours after tornadoes ripped through Central Florida, frustration and fury with Mother Nature sink in, and the damage hits home. Good Sunday morning. I'm Sally Schulze alongside meteorologist Leslie Hudson. We've learned that at least 3 tornadoes touched down Friday morning. Crews are out right now taking a closer look at that damage, and so are our crews. Erica Washington, Raul Martinez, and Gail Pascal Brown are all live in the places that saw the most devastation to bring you the stories of survival and strength. But first, let's give you the latest from overnight. The death toll rose to 20 on Saturday. 13 victims near Lake Mack and Paisley and 7 in Lady Lake. 4 counties are considered disaster areas. That's Lake, Sumter, Volusia, and Seminole. That means federal money is coming. It also means supplies. Starting today, victims should start getting trailers, water trucks, and more aid from FEMA. Let's start our live team coverage with WESH 2's Erica Washington. She is live in Lady Lake. Good morning, Erica.
Good morning, Sally. And Sally, as Leslie mentioned, it is cold outside and it's beginning to rain a little bit, but I can tell you that that is probably not going to stop the people here, church members of this church. You can see behind me, it is devastated, but they still do plan on having service here at 10:45. They say the destruction is no excuse not to come and say thank you for being able to survive the storm. And it's a real sign of how people in this area are really coming together to help each other get through this devastation.
The tornado has brought the neighbors together, helping each other. The ones that didn't talk before are now talking. You know, those who didn't know each other know each other.
Now, volunteers from all over the state spent yesterday clearing trees and other debris, and that cleanup effort, of course, will be continued today. Still lots and lots to clean up here. And I will tell you, the next half hour, Sally, I'm going to be taking you over to where they plan on feeding people. It's a huge tent that's set up, a pretty elaborate span of food that they have out there, and it's to feed people, of course, that are in need. But before that, I'm going to toss you over to Gail, who's my colleague in Lake Mack. Gail?
That's right. I'm here in Lake Mack on Lake Mack Road, and everywhere you look, it's going to be an incredible cleanup here, too, because everywhere you look, there is debris, whether it's the trees that are torn down or the homes. There's single-family homes out here, modular homes, as well as trailers. And, you know, there was one family, basically, that had the entire top roof of their 2-story house torn off. It was an amazing story of how that tornado struck, and they were just happy, yes, thankful to have lived to tell about it.
I was just hearing the whole house crushing down around me, and I heard all of those noises, and I could see all of everything just flying around.
When Linda got out, she couldn't find her husband, son, or daughter. She thought they were gone until she found her daughter hanging from a piece of wood on the 2nd floor. Her son was in sand with an injury to his head, and her husband appeared out of some nearby trees.
I feel very lucky that we're all alive. Okay? I feel also lucky that our injuries are minor. Okay? These are just things. We can replace these things.
Now, here's a look at Tom Considine's house before the storm. And looking at this video after the storm, you can see they have a lot of rebuilding to do. Just an incredible story. Tom tells us that at 3 a.m. he heard the boom, boom, the proverbial sound of the freight train, and then the flash. So he rushed downstairs to get the kids, and before you know it, he was blown out and into some trees. Incredible stories of survival. Unfortunately, though, here in the Lake Mac area, 13 people did not make it. And of course, we are all concerned about their families as they're trying to rebuild not only their material things, but emotionally it's tough on them. Sally?
Well, and Gail, these stories are amazing, what these people had to go through.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing about it is when you come out and you look at this, it does take a while. Maybe it does take the 48 hours, the 24 hours after the storm. And then you just really can't even swallow the whole thing because there's so much devastation everywhere you look. And so when you hear these stories that we're hearing this morning, the stories of survival, the stories of finding a Bible, those kind of things, that makes you count your blessings big time.
It does indeed. On this Sunday, I think a lot of people counting those blessings. Gail Pascal-Brown, thanks so much for that. Well, the National Weather Service now confirms 3 tornadoes touched down in Central Florida. Leslie Hudson is here to talk more about this. I know that's just their initial report. It could go up the number?
Possibly. Yesterday we were kind of tossing around the number 5 touchdowns, but they've had 2 crews on the ground all day yesterday, so we're thinking probably 3. That might be tweaked a little bit. Let's take you back in time and show you how this all played out at 2:50 on Friday morning, where the initial F3 came on shore from Citrus County. Winds were about 136 miles an hour. The path was about 15 miles long, and it headed eastward at about 60 miles an hour. Went into Lady Lake at 3:20, touchdown even stronger, F3 at topping the winds at 160 miles an hour before racing further off towards the east at Paisley, where the maximum winds of this one were almost an F4. 22-mile path of this actual touchdown tornado. The path was a 1/4 mile wide, moved into Volusia County after that, but again, it started to weaken F2 with winds of 130 to 135. And then the weakest touchdown was in New Smyrna Beach as it was racing offshore, looking at an F1 with winds near 100 miles an hour. The third touchdown with a 5-mile path. Let me show you a quick look at live Super Doppler 2 this morning. There are some showers out there. It is going to be a chilly day for us today with temperatures struggling in the 60s, Sally, and it's going to be turning cold as well. Not great weather, but at least drier tomorrow.
Well, and with that cold weather, we saw some people yesterday morning who were sleeping outside and what they have left of homes, and you just got to worry about that.
I know. It's just heartbreaking to see these folks.
Hopefully they get into shelters. Thanks so much, Leslie. You know, one Lake County family was hit especially hard. 15-year-old David Downing died in the storm. He was a freshman from Umatilla High School. His parents were also killed, 45-year-old Carla Downing and 48-year-old Donnie Downing. David was one in a set of triplets. His sisters Heather and Kayla survived. Half a family gone, something unimaginable to their cousin.
We're all upset and trying to figure out what to do and how to feel and things like that. It's really hard to take when 3 people die in your family.
Beside David, 2 other Lake County students were killed. 17-year-old Brittany May from Leesburg High School. She was crushed when a tree fell onto her bed. The other was 7-year-old Jacob Nolan, who attended Spring Creek Elementary. Jacob and his father died, while his mother and another child got out of their shattered house just in time. Our live team coverage continues now from the Villages in Sumter County. WESH 2's Raul Martinez is live there. Raul, when you show us the damage, all the houses, it's still just so hard to believe that no one was killed there.
Especially after hearing Gail's report, 20 deaths in Lake County, 13 along that small road there in Lake Mac, yet 1,200 homes here were damaged and only about 3 dozen injuries reported. Unbelievable. I'm standing at what used to be the bedroom of this house and what used to be the wall that you can now just literally just walk right through. So like you said, it's amazing that more people weren't seriously hurt and especially no one killed, because quite frankly, most of the injuries here were perhaps some bruises, some cuts, and really that's about the extent of it, if you can believe that. The director of emergency services at the Villages Regional Hospital says that people are actually responding to this devastation in very different ways.
I've been in other disasters before, and it's really amazing how resilient the human body is. People can take a lot of trauma and still go out walking. The thing that surprised me the most here is the people's attitude. People are just thankful to be alive and picking up and moving on.
And of course, doctors say they're seeing a lot of shrapnel type injuries. And now that we're moving into the cleanup phase, of course, they're urging people to be very careful because during tornadoes, during hurricanes, more people tend to get hurt from the debris than from the actual storm itself. And you can see why. If somebody's coming here to clean up this house, they're going to run into things like this, sharp objects, pieces of metal coming from off of their house. So the injuries can easily come from that, especially nails coming off of wooden boards, than from the actual storm itself. So needless to say, they got to be careful when they're coming out here doing this cleanup, Sally.
It is just amazing once again that no one's seriously hurt there. Raul, thanks for that. We are hearing so many stories of survival. A mother's quick reaction probably saved her baby's life. Moments before the storm barreled down in New Smyrna Beach, Debbie Gross hit the snooze button on her alarm clock. Somewhat awake, she then heard the rumbling of the twister bearing down on her duplex. So she jumped up, grabbed her 10-month-old son from his crib seconds before a tree crashed through the roof.
Like, you know, the trees in my yard, I'm in my bed, pretty much. My kitchen ceiling is on my bed. Kitchen items are in our room, both of my room and my son's room. And that's just, you know, thank God we were not in the beds. My son had a big shard of glass where his head would have been in his bed. I mean, it's just very scary.
As a new parent, I think any parent, that is just hard to hear that. Like every town touched by this tornado, neighbors have not hesitated to help out. They're handing out food and helping to clear all that debris. The Red Cross is helping out too. Workers handed out 1,300 meals to people yesterday in Lake Sumter and Volusia counties. The organization needs your help to keep providing the necessities for our neighbors now in need. To donate, you can call that number you see on the screen, 1-800-HELP-NOW. We've been telling you how volunteers from all across Florida are pitching in to help their neighbors. You've seen the video. Well, they're not alone. About 55 inmates from the Marion County Jail came out on Saturday to try to pick through the debris. They also helped look for anyone who might still be trapped in that rubble. As we head to break, here's another look at the damage. And coming up, we're going to tell you what we've learned by touring this disaster zone with the National Weather Service. And we'll show you more stories of survival. You're watching continuing coverage of the deadly tornadoes on WESH 2 News.
Closed captioning brought to you by Toyota of Orlando on West Colonial Drive.
We were both sound asleep, and the roof went off first. I was pelted with hail and cold rain. Just beyond this wall was the bedroom. The wall was coming down, and the power of this wind picked me up, the mattress and all, and pushed this side into that wall. And then the wall came down on me with the mattress under me.
Walls crashing down, roofs peeling off. 2 days after the deadly tornadoes hit, many people are just now able to voice their stories and share what they saw and felt as those twisters bore down. We're committed to bringing you all of those stories. Our crews are live in the hardest hit areas this morning, and our team of meteorologists is working around the clock in this. Leslie Hudson is here now to talk more about this. What we don't need today is cool, wet weather for these people.
Unfortunately, that's what we had yesterday. We were hoping to get some sunshine in the forecast this morning, Sally, but it looks like it's going to be tomorrow before we can actually get the clouds and the wet weather out of here. Now, ground crews, of course, are working around the clock like we are, trying to get the latest information. And the National Weather Service was out at the damaged sites yesterday. Our own meteorologist, Amy Sweezy, was along with the forecasters. Bart Hagemeyer leads up that team. And they're looking at specific things, including how the trees looked. There's Bart with Amy, how the actual walls fell off of the buildings to determine whether these were F2s and F3s. And as we now know, we had F3s, 2 of them, and we had an F1 as well. You can see that on our scale here, an F3 causes severe destruction. F2s are considerable, and F1s are moderate. So we'll still be getting information in from the Weather Service throughout this weekend, and of course in the up and coming weeks on this historic event that took place on Friday morning. Switching gears now, wet weather across Viper Plus. You can see a lot of rain south of us, but just enough here in Central Florida to slow folks down this morning. I think at least in the recovery areas. I think if you're going to be out the door in the metro areas or around the rest of Central Florida, you're going to be okay. But any rain, you know, is a problem if you're trying to get something done outside. And I do think we'll see a couple of these showers in the forecast this morning. The front that came through Friday that brought in our violent weather has kind of stalled over South Florida, still triggering some clouds and some showers this morning. But again, a secondary front scheduled to come in tonight. This will push everything out, will not cause severe weather, but will actually bring in some drier and chillier conditions throughout most of your work week. Now, daytime highs today will struggle to get into the upper 50s and low 60s. Keep in mind, as that front that kind of just bubbles to the north, you might get a quick shower today. I've got your chances for rain at about 30%. And then once we get past this stalled front, the secondary one pushes through, we should tap into some drier air that's back behind us, and that will bring in more sunshine tomorrow, but also a pretty chilly forecast. Look at this extended forecast. I haven't seen one like this in a while here in Central Florida. Our daytime highs will stay in the low 60s through Tuesday. Our coldest morning is slated to be Wednesday with a morning low of 40. We're going to keep it in the 40s most of the work week. In fact, the only time we actually see a pretty decent warm up is by Friday and Saturday. We'll be back to normal with temperatures in the mid 70s, but also some more rain possible next weekend.
Not what we need.
No.
We want that Florida weather back.
I know.
The nice sun. You know, the bright spot in all of this is those stories of communities coming together. WESH 2 Kathy Marsh reports it did not take long to get down to business in the villages.
A simple hug from a friend brings tears to the eyes of tornado victims. For Village's resident Becky Gushy, they're tears of joy as she realizes she made it out alive.
And it was dark, but we could smell gas, and that was what really, it was the gas that really was scaring us.
And made you move.
We were, yeah, and made us move, but it took us 20 minutes to get out of that bed and out through there.
It's enough to experience the terror a tornado brings, but then there's the reality of the cleanup. Now, for those in the villages, they got a big boost from tons of help. Some friends, some complete strangers are helping Becky clean up.
Just to be able to find them, to find these little trinkets that is the basis of their life, of what their life is all about. Without them, they're gone, they're nobody. This is who they are.
Meantime, the villages brought in countless numbers of maintenance workers, dump trucks, and all-around help to remove debris, bringing some sense of order to victims' lives. In Sumter County, Kathy Marsh, WESH 2 News.
As we head to break now, we want to tell you what we have learned about the victims of this storm. Here is a list of their names and ages. You are watching continuing coverage of the deadly tornadoes on WESH 2 News.
Closed caption.
You are watching WESH 2 News Sunrise, continuing coverage of the deadly tornadoes. President Bush has declared Volusia, Lake, Sumter, and Seminole counties disaster zones. The twisters killed at least 20 people. We'll continue our coverage of the storms, but first we want to update you on some other stories happening in our area. Orlando police need your help to catch a man wanted for sexually assaulting a 9-year-old girl. The suspect is Gregory Durant. He's 5'8", about 160 pounds. When the girl's mother confronted Durant of taking advantage of her daughter, police say he took off. Investigators later determined Durant's a registered sex offender. He owns a maroon 93 Nissan with the Florida tag number V106VX. Anyone who sees Durant or his car is asked to call Orlando police. A man who robbed a bank in Orange County is still on the loose, too. Take a look at a surveillance photo of him. He was wearing a green coat and hoodie. Police say he walked into the Bank of America on East Colonial Drive just before 11 yesterday morning.
Friedman's Jewelers.
You're watching WESH 2 News, continuing coverage of the deadly tornadoes.
Disaster area. People across Central Florida are working to clean up the damage and try to recover 2 days after the deadly tornado swept through and changed lives forever. From the ground and from the sky, the damage seems like it doesn't end. Today, volunteers, National Guard troops, and storm victims will work together to start cleaning up this mess. President Bush has declared 4 counties disaster areas: Lake, Sumter, Volusia, and Seminole. Good morning to you. I'm Sally Schulze here in the WESH 2 studios. Erica Washington and Raul Martinez are live in the damage zones, covering you in Lake and Sumter County. Let's start our team coverage with Erica in Lady Lake. Good morning.
Good morning, Sally. And let me tell you, it looks like it's daylight here because there's so many people out here trying to get this place together. Let me tell you where I am. I'm at the Lady Lake Church of God. You can see it's behind me, or what's left of it, I should say. And this, of course, is attracting national media attention. You can see all the lights behind me. But let me give you up to date on some numbers. The death toll stands at 20. That's 13 in Lake Mack in the Paisley area and 7 here in Lake Lady. Now, you mentioned the disaster areas. That's Lake, Sumter, Volusia, and Seminole counties. President Bush did sign an order on Saturday, and if you do have storm damage, you can report it to the state at this hotline number. It's 1-800-22-STORM, and the Department of Financial Services is ready to help people file insurance claims. Now, we have a special section on WESH.com that is actually, it's on WESH.com. You can look for information on your county, and that includes shelters, power updates, and more. Now, volunteers from all over come together to help the tornado victims in many ways. In Lady Lake, an area has been set up here to distribute food to the people, and the food is coming from various church and community groups who heard the cries for help.
You know, their houses are gone. They're going to be in shelters. They're going to be staying with friends.
That's when the best is pulled out of all of us to reach out and be compassionate to our neighbors and our friends.
Now, you're looking at 5 pictures. We are actually inside the tent, and this is where the food is going to be served. Everyone who is, and actually they can feed up to 7,500 people a day. And if you look, you can see people are here right now inside this tent that's located on the church grounds, and they will be here all day, all night, here to help serve people, Sally. Just an outpouring of support from different community groups.
It is so great to see. Erica Washington live in Lady Lake. Thanks so much. Now we want to turn to WESH 2's Raul Martinez. He's live in the Villages for us this morning. Raul, what do you have for us now?
Well, Sally, you know, the house that we're standing in right now that's seen some pretty heavy damage belongs to Nellie. Now, she's a lady, you may have seen her story yesterday on WESH 2 News. She was actually a Katrina survivor, and she decided to move here to the Villages to get away from that kind of thing and any kind of natural disasters. Well, obviously, the tornado followed her, and now she's dealing with what's left of her house and having to rebuild yet again after the damage she sustained with her house out in New Orleans. Now, of course, we're hearing so many stories of neighbors reaching out to help others, reaching out to help the victims of these tornadoes. And really, that certainly was the case right here in the Villages, where more than 1,200 homes sustained damage. 200 ambassadors of goodwill came down here and started helping out, helping people they don't even know who were forced out by this terrible storm. But for the people like the Haynes, for example, helping is not even a question.
All you had to do was go over there and look at the damage. I mean, you got tears in your eyes because you knew that so many people were going to be hurting.
And other survivors here in the Villages are staying with neighbors, friends, or just returning to their second homes. A lot of them are snowbirds, of course. All the while, they prepare to rebuild these homes and also rebuild these lives from this horrible storm and horrible tragedy that has befallen them in this area of the Villages. Sally?
Such a large community, but this really shows how it's such a close-knit community as well, Raul.
It sure does. They've had volunteers here. They've had workers from the Villages. They've had hundreds of people coming to help out, just like in the location where Erica Washington is, where so many of the church groups helping out there. This is just it's a good example of what the human heart can actually do when it's needed and when it needs to help others. They're your fellow man. I mean, it sounds a little cheesy, but really that's what it's all about. It's helping out your fellow man in a time of need, and no better example than a tornado or hurricane. And unfortunately, we've had too much of a need for it the last couple of years here in Central Florida, and it happened yet again. But it's always a positive sign to see people helping people, friends helping friends, and neighbors helping neighbors. That's what it's all about.
The people of Florida are always very generous and kind. Raul Martinez live in the Villages for us. Meteorologist Leslie Hudson is here now. Of course, the National Weather Service confirms that 3 tornadoes did hit our area, and they were strong.
Very strong, very rare for Central Florida to be talking about F3s. We'll talk much more about that in just a second. Let me get you updated about this forecast, because a lot of folks are just now waking up, and a lot of folks are going to be wearing what we've been seeing our reporters wearing: gloves, sweaters, and the winter weather gear. Take a look at this. We're 50 degrees at this hour in Orlando, 46 in Leesburg, up in the Villages where many of our crews are, 43 in Ocala, and back towards Sanford, 48, mid-40s in Volusia County as well. It has been a chilly day out there and morning, and it will continue to be a chilly day. 61 is our forecast high today, mostly cloudy, and we have some isolated showers in the forecast as well, although the rain chances are about 30%, and colder weather is slated to move into the area tonight. Well, Sally mentioned one of 3 tornadoes touching down was in Volusia County. That was an F2, winds about 150 miles an hour. And Eric Burris from our sister station in West Palm Beach, WPBF, is live there now. Eric, what can you tell about the damage that you've seen so far this morning?
Well, you know, Leslie, I'm standing in Dan Sheehan's bedroom, or at least what used to be his bedroom, and now it's just an incredible scene. Things just destroyed and all wrapped around. The difference that I found between hurricane damage and tornado damage is the fact that everything got lifted up into trees, such as the one just sitting right off the side here of where his trailer stood. Another incredible thing is in his bedroom, in his closet here, all of his clothes still on their hangers as if there was nothing ever that happened. So an absolutely incredible sight here as that F2 roared through on Friday morning.
Eric, as you know, the National Weather Service enhancing this Fujita scale. Now we know that this is more based on damage than it is on wind speeds. We have some pictures here we're showing of what an F0 and F1 all the way up into the F2, F3 categories. Now, I don't know how much you can tell there in the dark, but are you noticing anything specific that would lend the credibility to an F2, saying the trees, how they were destroyed, or the fact that these walls were completely blown off the buildings there?
Well, you know, for example, many of these trailers here are still standing, or a few of those walls still standing. On Friday, I was reporting in Lake Mack, where it was just an absolute field where there was nothing left. So you could tell that this area, while still devastated because of those tornadoes, not as strong of a system that moved through. Lots of the plywood and all the sheet metal pulled up into those trees. But still, we do have the structure standing, such as his closet here, whereas at Lake Mack, very different story.
Absolutely, and it's amazing just how that wind pattern from 150 to 165, Eric, can cause such total devastation. Thanks for your insight. We'll be talking later with you this morning. That is Eric Burris reporting live for us in Volusia County.
You know, it's interesting to hear if it's an F1, F2, F3, but I think for the people out there, you know, that kind of stuff doesn't really matter. They just know they lost so much.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks, Leslie. We'll check back in with you soon. Congressman Tom Feeney will tour the damage in Volusia County today. He's going to fly over the area around 11:30 this morning. Meantime, Governor Charlie Crist got an aerial view of the destruction in Lady Lake yesterday alongside FEMA Director David Paulison.
It's just a devastating area and makes you sick to your stomach about what we saw, about the people who lost their lives and those who lost their homes and in some cases everything they own.
Charlie Crist had planned to go to the Super Bowl later today in Miami, but he's decided not to. He's going to stay in Central Florida to help with our recovery efforts. Now let's take you to the deadliest stop the storm made. WESH 2's Gail Pascal Brown is live near Lake Mack for us this morning. And Gail, it's just an awful scene where you are.
Yeah, it is. I tell you, an F3 tornado from all our people, meteorologists telling us this came through here. I'm on a sidewalk leading up to a house, and there's not much left of the center block house. You can see the siding and you can see the mattresses, but everywhere you look in this community, and we're in Lake Mack, on Lake Mack Road, there is devastation all around us. Now, starting today, folks are going to get help from FEMA, and they're going to try to bring everything out here from generators, military meals, blue tarps, and more. Yesterday, search crews picked through the rubble looking for more victims and trying to clean up some of the debris. The stories of death here are heartbreaking. Darman Basinger lost his mother, sister, and 8-year-old niece.
That's the area that they cleared with the dozer to find my mom and be able to get her out.
More than 1,500 homes and buildings are destroyed. There was one amazing story from Volusia County where in DeLand, a family was able to climb out of the rubble. And while looking through what's left of their home, they found a 150-year-old family Bible. They say that was their most prized possession because they wouldn't have been able to replace it. Back here live now in Lake Mack and Lake County, again, the mattresses, tanks, everything that you can imagine out here. Just the houses were just blown apart. And I'm told it's mixed houses out here. There were some mobile homes, single-family homes, trailers, as well as cinder block homes. So, you know, when it comes to tornadoes, they're not discriminating. They'll tear anything that's in their path. I'm Gail Pascal-Brown, live in Lake County for WESH 2 News. Back to you, Sally.
We can only imagine how much those little things mean to people, like finding that Bible had to mean so much. Gail Pascal-Brown, thanks for that. You can find amazing images of the devastation on WESH.com. Michael Polfer in the Villages took this photo for us. There you see the chair. Kind of strange because it's obviously on the wall, but also no one knows where that chair came from in this storm. You can see that image and many others in our special edition, Deadly Tornadoes, at WESH.com. There you will also find video of victims telling those stories of survival. Or you can listen to some of the harrowing 911 calls made in the moments right after the tornado struck. And if you have any photos of storm damage you'd like to share, you will find a place to submit them all on WESH.com. More coverage of the deadly tornadoes continues on WESH 2 News when we return. First, more stories from the victims as they begin to assess what they've lost.
Girl's window, at the window, and just jumped over the house and spared us.
My office is gone, my bed's gone, and we're just sitting there, and we get up, and we're the only things in the house.
Daytona Auto Mall. No.
The video and pictures of the damage show just how devastating the storm really was. If you're looking for a way to help, you can call the Red Cross at 1-800-HELP-NOW. Meteorologist Leslie Hudson is here now to talk about the weather. It's going to be a concern today for people with the cleanup and anybody else heading out. You're going to need a jacket.
You're going to need a jacket, and especially for the folks up in these tornado-ravaged areas, Sally. We're talking about a forecast that only keeps your temperatures in the 50s and low 60s today, so you're going to definitely need the winter weather, and keep it handy. You're going to need it most of the work week. Let's get you outside and show you what's going on, because we have not had a great start, although Daytona Beach, you actually look pretty good. I was looking at some of the other weather cameras, and they're actually a lot thicker with the clouds. It looks like you're going to see some of that sun this morning. What a nice change that'll be for you. As we shift further inland, we still have a pretty low cloud deck over the metro Orlando area, but you can also see some pinks off in the distance. So the sun doing its best to try and get you a little bit of sunshine in the forecast today. I don't think it'll be a sunny day, but you will get a sneak peek of the sunshine here and there, and you'll also get a little taste of rain as you take a look at live Super Doppler 2. Some of these showers have been lifting northeast across our area. It's all thanks to the front we had on Friday that brought in that historic tornado event. Now just producing some very light rain as it sits over central Florida and continues to weaken. But look at the satellite picture. There's a lot of clouds over the area. Some of these are thin enough that you'll see the sunshine, but I think the overall trend is going to be for a mostly cloudy sky today. And then we've got another cold front coming into play tonight, and that's going to push everything south of us and finally get you into some sunshine and some chilly weather. We'll stay chilly today, and that's going to be mainly because of the cloud deck. Tomorrow we're cold and sunny. 60s are forecast for Palm Coast, 58 Leesburg and Ocala, 60 for Claremont, and we've got temperatures in the low 60s in the metro areas as well below the average. Remember, the daytime highs typically are in the low 70s. Now, the forecast doesn't change because of that stalled front, keeping things mostly cloudy with isolated showers, chilly throughout the day. And then here comes our secondary front, and we'll tap into this drier air that's across the eastern half of the country tomorrow, and that will keep our picture pretty nice starting off, but cold as we head back to work and school tomorrow. A lot of clouds in the forecast, as I mentioned, but the rain chance is really not an issue except for today, where we've got a slight chance of rain at about 30%. As we head back to work and school tomorrow, 44 the morning low with an afternoon high of 64. Looks like we'll stay in the 40s for mornings through Wednesday. In fact, our coldest morning will be Wednesday morning with a morning low of 40. Afternoon high temperature of 70, and then we're looking down the road to probably Friday and Saturday of the work week before we get another chance of rain, but temperatures back to normal then. Sally?
Anxious to see that sun. People from across our area are coming together to help the victims of the deadly tornadoes. Today, you're going to see volunteers working together to make their lives a little easier. WESH 2's Erica Washington is live in Lady Lake for us this morning. And Erica, where you are, you definitely get that sense of community coming together.
Absolutely, Sally, and it's good to see because these people really, really need it. Now, President Bush did declare 4 counties disaster areas, and yesterday we were here when the director of FEMA toured those areas. But now many of these residents are returning home trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces. And WESH 2's Sally Kidd has that story.
The wind picked me up.
90-year-old Lee Seidenstricker bought his Florida dream home just a few months ago.
This is where I landed, on my back, right here.
Now he stands in a tattered broken shell on bits of glass and chunks of drywall, a broken table leg impaled in his front door.
I done that with that flying glass.
He's one of hundreds of residents in the village's retirement community coming to grips with a new reality.
So we're packing up everything that we can keep. It's good. None of the furniture's any good. It's gone.
Friends and neighbors pitched in to help recover what's left. Work crews moved in with tools and tarps. This wooded area is littered with debris from homes that are about a quarter mile from here, like this electrical fuse box. And over here, what's left of someone's television set. And over here, yet another reminder that many of the things that were lost were mementos that people cherish. FEMA Director David Paulison joined Florida's governor on an aerial tour of the damage. Paulison says trucks loaded with water, generators, and other supplies are on the way. And he says FEMA is responding to this disaster in a new way.
Waiting for a local community to become overwhelmed before the state steps in, and waiting for the state to become overwhelmed before the federal government steps in simply does not work anymore. We've got to go in as partners, and that's what we're going to do.
Sally Kidd, WESH 2 News.
And, you know, it's really about these volunteers that are coming in to help because that's what it's all about. And let me tell you, Floridians, as Raul had mentioned earlier, they're just resilient. They're going to persevere and get through this, but it's just heartwarming to see the support that's coming out from the community. Sally?
Once again, we're seeing just how strong all of the people of Florida are. Erica Washington, live in Lady Lake. We've told you about the people who are now forced to rebuild their homes and their lives, but there are some who have nothing left. You're going to see their stories ahead. You're watching WESH 2 News.
What better way to prove that Mercury Insurance is run by aliens from the planet Mercury than to infiltrate the organization?
Experience the difference at your #1 volume dealer.
Central Florida, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge. You won't get it anywhere else.
Welcome back at 6:52. Amidst the stories of survival from the tornadoes, there are some stories of frustration this morning. Some people were not allowed back into their homes in Lake Mack yesterday, more than 24 hours after the storm.
The police will not allow me to get back to my home that was devastated yesterday by this tornado. I have done nothing wrong but get caught in a tornado.
13 of the people killed in the storm died on that man's street. Residents were eventually allowed to return later in the day after police decided it was safe. Some then even opted to spend the night there. In DeLand, people are still coming to grips with losing everything. One family was not home when the storm struck, but they were horrified by the images of the damage they saw on television, and then they got to see it in person yesterday.
Devastation that we can't control. Lives that have been hurt, 19 lives taken during this devastation. Property damage that many people put their whole life into. And many people do not have insurance. And we're just average, everyday people. And it hurts. It just hurts.
Now, as we said, we now know at least 20 people were killed. People here in Hawthorne Hills and DeLand will have to start from scratch, many of them. Many of the mobile homes there were too old to insure, so residents have nothing left. Let's check in now with meteorologist Leslie Hudson once again to get more on the storms and today's forecast, which is very important to the cleanup.
It is, and at least the forecast will be drier today, Sally, but it is going to be cold out there. As we take a look at our weather camera in downtown Orlando, we still have a pretty decent cloud deck overhead. You can see there's a couple of breaks off in the horizon, so I think you'll see a little bit of sunshine, but not much. And it's going to be a cold day. As I mentioned, our daytime high 61, average daytime high is about 72. So chilly conditions throughout the day today. We do have a few isolated showers in the forecast, although not many, and certainly not the lightning storms that we saw yesterday. And as we head into tonight, temperatures will tumble back into the 40s. We should get some sunshine in the picture tomorrow. We'll take a look at that and have a lot more on the weather, hows and whys on this historic event in our next hour. Sally?
One New Smyrna Beach man may be the loneliest tornado victim. 92-year-old Milton Ellis was the only person staying in a Red Cross shelter. With no family left, he didn't have anywhere else to stay. Many locals recognize him as the picturesque old guy in the big hat who walks to McDonald's every morning. Here's Milton Ellis this morning in his own words.
And suddenly, I heard a bomb that exploded. And the house came down on top of me, and I managed to creep out, and in front of the house was branches and broken trees about 20 feet high, and I barely made it outside. A tornado is at least 50% worse than a hurricane. My mother, God bless her, she said she would wish I lived to be 100. Well, I'm pretty close.
Late yesterday afternoon, the Red Cross found a place to which Mr. Ellis can move and afford on his $945 monthly income. Time now to look ahead. Lady Lake Church of God will hold a service at 10:45 this morning, this despite the building being leveled in the storm. Congressman Tom Feeney will tour tornado damage in Volusia County around 11:30, and Volusia County confirms Deltona Lakes Elementary School will be closed tomorrow. We have much more news coming up as we bring you continuing coverage of the deadly tornadoes. We'll have live reports from Lake, Sumter, and Volusia counties. Right now, you are looking live from Chopper 2 at some of the damage in Lake County. Plenty more ahead. You're watching WESH 2 News.